The housing allowance deposit that hit my account Tuesday morning was $847 more than it should have been. I'm Marine First Lieutenant Reese Chen, 29 years old, currently stationed at Naval Base San Diego, California. Been deployed here for 8 months now, managing logistics coordination between multiple units. The extra money should have felt like a gift. Instead, it made my stomach drop. I pulled up my banking app on my iPhone while sitting in the mess hall. The deposit showed as, quote, adjustment, dependent status change. Problem was, I didn't have any dependents. Never been married. No kids. My housing allowance had been the same single rate amount for 3 years running. The transaction timestamp read 0347 hours. Someone had processed this in the middle of the night. I scrolled through my recent statements. Everything else looked normal. Paycheck deposits, automatic transfers to savings, the usual commissary charges and gas station purchases. But this housing adjustment stuck out like a red flag in a formation inspection. My phone buzzed with a text from my credit monitoring app. New address added to your credit profile. I hadn't added any new addresses. My permanent address was still listed as my parents' house in Sacramento. My current military address was the base housing office. The new address showed as 2847 Ocean View Drive, Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'd never been to Virginia Beach in my life. I called the base housing office from my desk phone 20 minutes later. Sergeant Martinez answered on the third ring. Housing office, Sergeant Martinez speaking. This is First Lieutenant Chen. I need to verify my dependent status in the system. One moment, sir. I heard keyboard clicking. Shows here you've got spouse and 2 dependents listed. Status changed last month. My pen snapped in half. Run that by me again, Sergeant. Spouse listed as Elena Chen, 2 minor dependents. Address on file is Virginia Beach. Says here the paperwork was submitted by your authorized representative. I didn't have an authorized representative. I didn't have a spouse named Elena. I sure as hell didn't have 2 kids. Who submitted the paperwork? More keyboard clicking. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb. Shows he had your power of attorney documentation. Marcus Webb, my old drill instructor from boot camp. The man who taught me everything about military discipline and honor. The guy I'd trusted enough to handle my affairs while I was deployed. The same Marcus Webb who'd called me 3 weeks ago asking about my banking information for emergency contact updates. My hands started shaking as I hung up the phone. Someone was stealing my housing allowance. Someone was using my identity to claim benefits for a fake family. And the person doing it was someone I'd trusted with my life. The worst part? If they'd gotten this far into the system, they probably weren't stopping at housing allowances. I needed to understand how deep this went before making any moves. Marcus Webb had been my drill instructor at Parris Island 6 years ago. He'd shaped me from a scared kid into a Marine. When I got my commission and deployed to San Diego, he'd reached out. Said he was proud. Said if I ever needed anything handled stateside while deployed, he was my guy. 3 months ago, I'd given him limited power of attorney. Standard procedure for deployed personnel. Someone back home to handle emergencies, sign documents, manage affairs. Marcus had 22 years in the Corps. He was retiring next year with full benefits. Why would he risk everything? I pulled up my banking app on my phone. The housing allowance deposits looked normal at first glance. But when I scrolled deeper, I found transfers I didn't recognize. Small amounts. $50 here. $75 there. Always on different dates, always to accounts I'd never seen. The pattern became clear after 20 minutes of scrolling. Every time my housing allowance hit my account, a portion got transferred out within 48 hours. The transfers had been happening for 2 months. I called my bank's fraud department from my office. The automated system put me on hold for 18 minutes. Fraud prevention. This is David speaking. This is Reese Chen. I need to verify some transactions on my account. I'll need to verify your identity first, Mr. Chen. After the security questions, David pulled up my account. What transactions are you questioning? The recurring transfers to external accounts. I didn't authorize those. Keyboard clicking on his war. Shows here those transfers were initiated through your online banking portal. The IP address traces back to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Is that your current location? No, I'm deployed in California. I see. The transfers were set up using your login credentials. Do you have anyone authorized to access your account? I gave limited power of attorney to someone, but not for banking. Sir, the person accessing your account would need your username and password. Power of attorney doesn't grant online banking access unless specifically documented. My stomach dropped. Marcus had my banking information because I'd given it to him during that phone call 3 weeks ago. He'd said the base needed updated emergency contact information. Said he'd handle the paperwork for me. I'd handed him everything he needed to steal from me. I need those transfers stopped immediately. I'll flag your account and reverse any pending transactions. You'll need to file a formal fraud report. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and logged into the military benefits portal. If Marcus was stealing my housing allowance, he might be hitting other benefits too. The system showed my dependent status had been updated 4 times in the past 2 months. Each update added more fake family members. First update, spouse Elena Chen added. Second update, dependent child Marcus Chen Jr., age 8. Third update, dependent child Sophia Chen, age 6. Fourth update, address change to Virginia Beach. The dates matched perfectly with increases in my benefit payments. Marcus wasn't just stealing existing money. He was manufacturing fake dependents to increase the amounts he could steal. I called Staff Sergeant Rodriguez from my unit. He'd been deployed twice and knew the system inside and out. Rodriguez here. It's Chen. I need a favor. Can you walk me through checking benefit fraud indicators? What kind of indicators? Someone's been accessing my accounts, adding fake dependents. Rodriguez whistled low. That's federal crime territory, sir. You need to document everything before you make accusations. I'm documenting. What else should I look for? Check your credit report. If they're bold enough to mess with military benefits, they might be opening credit accounts too. I pulled up my credit monitoring app while Rodriguez talked. 3 new accounts had been opened in the past month. A credit card with a $5,000 limit. A personal loan for $8,000. A store credit account at a furniture retailer. All accounts showed the Virginia Beach address. All accounts showed recent activity. Rodriguez, they opened credit accounts too. Jesus. How much are we talking about? I did quick math in my head. Stolen housing allowance. Maybe $3,000 so far. New credit accounts. Probably another $10,000 in available credit. If they maxed everything out. You're looking at serious money. This isn't some desperate kid making bad choices. This is organized. Rodriguez was right. The timing was too perfect. The documentation too clean. Marcus had planned this operation like a military mission. My phone buzzed with another credit alert. New purchase, $2,847 at Virginia Beach Furniture Depot. They were actively spending my money while I sat in my office 3,000 miles away. I needed more before involving authorities. If I was wrong about Marcus, I'd destroy the career of a man who dedicated his life to the Corps. If I was right, I needed enough proof to make charges stick. I called the Virginia Beach Furniture Depot directly. Furniture Depot, this is Ashley. Hi, Ashley. I'm calling about a recent purchase on my account. The charge was for $28.47. Let me look that up. What's your name? Reese Chen. Oh yes, Mr. Chen. Your wife Elena was just in here this morning. Beautiful dining room set. She said you're deployed overseas and wanted to surprise you when you get home. My hands went cold. Can you describe Elena? Tall brunette, maybe late 20s. Very sweet. She had all your information and ID. Said you two just moved to the area. What kind of ID did she show? Military dependent ID. Everything checked out. Someone had created a fake military dependent ID for a woman named Elena Chen. Someone with access to military systems and knowledge of proper documentation procedures. Someone like Marcus Webb. I hung up and immediately called the base security office. This had moved beyond financial fraud into identity theft and forged military documents. Base security, Corporal Johnson. This is First Lieutenant Chen. I need to report suspected identity theft involving military benefits fraud. I'll transfer you to the duty officer. While waiting for transfer, I calculated the full scope. Marcus had stolen approximately $3,000 in housing allowances. He'd opened $13,000 in credit accounts. He'd created fake military dependents and forged government identification. The total financial damage was approaching $20,000. But the security breach was worse. If Marcus could create fake military IDs, what other classified systems had he compromised? The duty officer picked up. This is Lieutenant Commander Hayes. I understand you're reporting identity theft? Yes, sir. Someone's been using my identity to claim false benefits and open credit accounts. The person appears to have access to military systems. How long has this been happening? At least 2 months that I can document. Possibly longer. Do you have a suspect? I took a deep breath. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb. He has my power of attorney and recently requested my banking information. Webb. I know that name. He's retiring next month, right? Yes, sir. We'll need you to come in immediately with all documentation. This sounds like it needs OSI involvement. OSI. The Office of Special Investigations. When military police called in OSI, it meant federal crimes and serious prison time. I gathered every piece of I'd collected. Bank statements, credit reports, benefit portal screenshots, phone records. Everything pointed to Marcus Webb systematically stealing my identity and benefits while I was deployed and unable to monitor my accounts. The man who'd taught me honor and integrity was stealing from me while I served my country overseas. But I still needed one more piece of proof before I could destroy his life with accusations. Lieutenant Commander Hayes met me at the base security office at 0800 hours. Agent Williams from OSI arrived 30 minutes later with a briefcase and recording equipment. First Lieutenant Chen, I reviewed your preliminary report, Agent Williams said. This appears to be a complex case involving multiple federal violations: identity theft, benefits fraud, and potential security breaches. I spread my across the conference table. Bank statements showing unauthorized housing allowances. Credit reports with 13 accounts I'd never opened. Screenshots of fake dependent profiles in the military benefits system. Staff Sergeant Webb had legitimate access to your personal information through the power of attorney, Agent Williams noted. That makes this premeditated fraud, not opportunistic theft. What's our next step? We need a recorded confession. Webb doesn't know you've discovered the fraud yet. We'll set up a controlled meeting. Agent Williams outlined the plan. I would call Marcus and arrange to meet him off base. I would wire me with recording equipment. They needed him to admit to the fraud on tape for a solid prosecution. This is dangerous, Lieutenant Commander Hayes warned. If Webb realizes you're investigating him, he might destroy or flee. He's retiring in 3 weeks, I said. If we don't move now, he'll disappear with my money. Agent Williams handed me a secure phone. Call him. Normal. Say you want to discuss your finances before you return from. I dialed Marcus's number. He answered on the second ring. Reese, how's the treating you? Good, Sergeant. Listen, I've been thinking about my finances. Can we meet tomorrow to go over everything? Want to make sure my accounts are set up properly for when I get back. Of course. How about that coffee shop near the base? Grind Coffee on Harbor Drive. Say 1,400 hours? Perfect. See you then. I hung up. Agent Williams was already preparing the recording equipment. He agreed too quickly, I said. Someone innocent would ask more questions. Guilty people want to control the narrative, Agent Williams replied. He thinks he can convince you everything's legitimate. The next day, OSI technicians fitted me with a wireless microphone and backup recording device. Agent Williams positioned surveillance teams around Grind Coffee. Lieutenant Commander Hayes monitored from a van across the street. Marcus arrived exactly on time. He looked the same as always, confident, authoritative, the perfect image of a career Marine. Good to see you, Reese. You look tired. We'll do that. Thanks for managing my finances while I'm gone. No problem. That's what mentors are for. I ordered coffee and sat across from him. The recording equipment felt heavy against my chest. I've been reviewing my accounts online, I said carefully. Some things don't look familiar. Marcus's expression didn't change. What kind of things? Housing allowances I don't remember authorizing. Credit accounts I don't recognize. Oh, those. I opened some accounts to help build your credit while you're deployed. The housing allowances are legitimate. You qualified for additional benefits based on your status. Which benefits specifically? Family separation allowance. Overseas housing differential. Standard stuff. I knew he was lying. I wasn't married and had no dependents. There was no family separation allowance. Marcus, I need you to be straight with me. I pulled my credit report yesterday. There are 13 accounts I've never seen before. His jaw tightened slightly. Reese, you gave me power of attorney to handle your finances. I've been maximizing your benefits and building your financial portfolio. By creating fake dependents in the military system? The words hung in the air. Marcus stared at me for 10 seconds without speaking. I don't know what you're talking about. I have screenshots, Marcus. Fake wife, fake children, all claiming my benefits while I'm deployed. Marcus leaned back in his chair. His confident demeanor cracked slightly. You're making serious accusations, Lieutenant. I'm asking for explanations. Help me understand how my dead grandmother is listed as my dependent in the benefits system. Marcus's face went pale. Your grandmother? Margaret Chen died in 2019, currently receiving survivor benefits under my account. That's a system error. No, Marcus, that's fraud. Federal fraud. Marcus stood up abruptly. I think this conversation is over. Sit down, Sergeant. We're not finished. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do. Because OSI is listening too. Marcus froze. His eyes darted around the coffee shop, finally spotting the surveillance team. You're wearing a wire. Sit down and explain how you stole $20,000 from me while I was serving overseas. Marcus sat down slowly. His hands were shaking. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, he said quietly. I had gambling debts. I needed money fast. So you decided to steal from your mentee? I was going to pay it back before you returned. The housing allowances, the credit accounts, everything. You'd never have known. What about the fake dependents? I needed to justify the benefit claims. The system requires documentation for family members. So you forged military identification for dead people? I had access to the personnel database. It was easy to create profiles. Agent Williams's voice crackled through my earpiece. Keep him talking. We need details about the system access. How long have you been doing this, Marcus? Just with your account. I swear. You were deployed, you weren't monitoring your finances. It seemed safe. Safe? You violated federal law. You compromised military security systems. I know it was wrong. But I was desperate. How much did you steal total? Marcus put his head in his hands. About 20,000. Maybe more. Maybe more. I lost track. The gambling got worse. I kept taking more to cover the losses. Agent Williams and 2 OSI agents entered the coffee shop. Marcus saw them approaching and slumped in his chair. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, you're under arrest for identity theft, benefits fraud, and unauthorized access to military systems. Marcus didn't resist as they handcuffed him. He looked at me with something that might have been regret. I'm sorry, Reese. I really am. You destroyed everything you taught me about honor and integrity. I know. Agent Williams read Marcus's rights while the other agents searched his belongings. They found a notebook with my personal information, account numbers, and forged document templates. We'll need you to come to the office for a full statement, Agent Williams told me. This case will likely go to federal court. Marcus was led away in handcuffs. The man who'd been my mentor and role model was now facing federal charges and military court-martial. 3 weeks later, Marcus Webb was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison and dishonorably discharged from the Marines. He was ordered to pay full restitution of $23,000. I helped OSI identify 2 other Marines who'd been victims of similar fraud. Marcus had been running this scheme for over a year, targeting deployed service members who couldn't monitor their accounts. The investigation revealed he'd stolen over $60,000 total from 3 different Marines. But the damage went beyond money. Marcus had compromised military personnel databases and created fake identification documents. The security breach required system-wide password resets and new authentication protocols. Mine ended 2 months after Marcus's arrest. Returning home felt different, knowing my mentor had betrayed everything we'd sworn to protect. 6 months later, I was stationed back at Camp Pendleton, working in personnel administration. The betrayal had changed how I viewed trust. But it hadn't broken my faith in the core. My credit score had recovered completely. The financial institution reversed all fraudulent charges and closed the compromised accounts. I opened new accounts with enhanced security features and two-factor authentication on everything. The Marine Corps implemented new safeguards for deployed personnel. Service members now received monthly automated alerts about any changes to their benefits or personal information. The system Marcus exploited had been completely overhauled. I received a letter from one of the other victims Marcus had defrauded. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez thanked me for helping expose the scheme. He'd recovered his stolen money and avoided financial ruin because of the investigation. Agent Williams contacted me occasionally with updates on similar cases. The OSI had identified a pattern of benefits, fraud targeting deployed Marines across multiple bases. My case had become a template for investigating these crimes. I collaborated with VA liaisons to verify survivor benefit payouts for families of fallen Marines. The work felt meaningful after experiencing fraud firsthand. Every verification I completed protected someone's family from potential exploitation. Marcus sent a letter from federal prison. I threw it away without reading it. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt, and I had no interest in his explanations or apologies. My new mentor was Gunnery Sergeant Patricia Vance, a 20-year veteran who'd served 3 combat deployments. She taught me that leadership meant protecting those under your command, not exploiting them. Trust is earned through consistent actions, she told me during one of our weekly meetings. Marcus forgot that fundamental principle. I'd learned to trust again, but more carefully. Background checks, verification calls, and documentation became second nature. The paranoia had faded, replaced by healthy skepticism. My apartment in Oceanside was simple but secure. No forwarding addresses, no shared accounts, no proxy authorizations. I controlled every aspect of my financial life directly. The nightmares about discovering Marcus's betrayal had stopped. Sleep came easier now, without the constant worry about what other damage might surface. On quiet Sunday mornings, I'd walk along the beach near base and think about the lessons learned. Betrayal had taught me resilience. Investigation had taught me thoroughness. Recovery had taught me patience. The Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment meant more to me now. I'd seen what happened when someone abandoned those principles. The destruction rippled outward, affecting everyone who'd trusted them. I kept Marcus's challenge coin in my desk drawer as a reminder, not of our friendship, but of the importance of staying vigilant. Evil often wore familiar faces and spoke in trusted voices. My phone buzzed with a text from Rodriguez. He'd been promoted to staff sergeant and was deploying to Japan next month. He wanted advice on protecting his finances while overseas. I typed back detailed instructions about account monitoring, security alerts, and trusted contacts. Helping other Marines avoid what I'd experienced felt like completing a circle. The sun was setting over the Pacific as I finished the message. The ocean stretched endlessly westward, calm and unchanging. Some things remained constant, even when trust was broken and rebuilt. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.